to the Raw Report, episode 22. I am your host, Jericho, along with my co-hosts, X and Bones. And before we begin, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, drop a comment, hit us up on Instagram at Raw Fantasy Sports. A very exciting week, guys. But before we get into everything, let's talk about the Heat a little bit, man. We suffered a tough L.
I'm in mourning, bro. I'm in mourning. It was a hell of a run.
Do tell, brother, and do tell.
It was a hell of a run. What can I say? You know, came up short of the grand goal, but you know, I'm not even mad, bro. I'm just sad. I'm sad. You know, we just ran into a better team. Ran out of gas. Like I said, one hell of a run. Just came up short. Came against a great team. Shout out to Denver.
Yeah, no, they had a great year, though. I mean, they played out of their minds when you think about it. You think of all the undrafted guys. You think of Bam, who kind of stepped up, although you wanted to see more from him, but he played consistent in the finals. And, you know, Jimmy gave it his all. It was clear he was, banged up, but he wasn't complaining. It's just that time of the year. Everyone's a little banged up or, everyone's playing their hearts out, bro. You had Gabe Vincent out there, his shot was completely different from earlier in the playoffs. You could tell he was kind of gassed. You had Duncan Robinson. He looked a little gassed from playing well earlier in the playoffs. Like, they ran through the playoffs playing well. They beat the Bucks. They beat the Knicks. Then they come and beat the Celtics. And then it was just one of those things where it was just the momentum carried them to the finals with the right matchups and everything. But they were just clearly outsized in the finals with Denver. And that's really what it came down to. But they had a great year. And now, going to make some serious changes in the offseason, and we all see it coming.
Oh, yeah, man.
It's a shame they couldn't go the distance because, they put a nice little squad together. I know Jimmy Butler played his heart out all season for them to get to that point. They snagged up the last position in the league to get to the playoffs. But to be real, the Heat have a lot of work to do. They have a lot of work to do with the roster, man. It's just not enough to get it done. We've seen this 2 times already. We saw it once in the bubble, and now we're seeing it again now. And, Bam is a great player, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like the Heat need a little bit more just to be able to get that W. But to be honest, Denver just dominated the series. It's a shame to see the hometown team, go down like that. But, we'll be back. Our exposure, Pat Riley, they know what they're doing.
It's like this guy from ESPN said, Brian Windhorst. He said that there's players out there. He couldn't say names because if not, he would get aggregated from the league. And so basically, he said that there's prominent players out there that watched these past 2 months and are telling themselves, maybe I want to be in Miami. Like, he just went up against the 3 best teams record-wise in the league and almost pulled it off. Overall number 1 seed, the Bucks, the Celtics, and the Nuggets. 3 best records right there. Obviously, we came up short in the finals, but that's one hell of an accomplishment considering the team lost players left and right, for the season. And like you said,
right, and they were just overplaying. They were overplaying their matchups, and that's what it came down to. And it was one of those rare instances where an 8th seed overcame everyone, and every team was better than them. You look at with the Bucks. You look at the Celtics. Every team on paper looked better than them with superstars. Even the Knicks with Brunson, Barrett, and Randall looking well as a 4th seed, or the 5th seed, 4th or 5th seed. But they came in strong. And going up against the 8th seed, they slept on it. Everyone slept on it. So it was a good year I had, man. But.
Yeah, there's always next year, fellas.
Yeah.
Speculation. Let's see what happens with the actual contracts. Pat Riley don't see.
And speaking of which, I see you with your sunglasses on. I see Aaron Rodgers back there smoking a doobie with his brand new wide receiver out there in New York. And let me put mine on because camp has started, fellas, getting ready for this fantasy season. And, very excited. Our teams are getting back to camp. And one thing that's been standing out recently, and we've seen a lot on the news, is how players are now getting penalized for gambling. It's going against league policy, and it's becoming a very big deal. As we've seen historically, teams do not like their players to gamble on the game. especially against their team, but more or less the team, they just don't like it. It challenges the integrity of the league. Now they're handing out year-long suspensions, as we've seen with Calvin Ridley, and he's just making his return now. But now the Colts have a player that got caught making bets during a game or right before a game at the end of last season, and now he's about to face another suspension. So something tells me the entire league right now is setting out an investigation just to see who's betting on games, and we need to talk about how that's going to affect the integrity of the entire game.
Yeah, I think if they're going to allow every other commercial to be FanDuel and to try to influence millions of people into betting, they should allow players to bet. But it should only be overs instead of unders if they're going to bet on themselves or anything else. There shouldn't be any unders allowed from any football players. And they should just have to be transparent with any of their bets. Like, that's fair. Like, if you're going to bet, like, yo, I'm going to have over 100 yards, like, bet on yourself. I don't see any issues with that in my eyes. If they're going to push that on every commercial when these guys are the product. Like, these are like the horses that can't bet on themselves. Like,
right. So you feel like there should be some type of conditional betting then?
Right. They're not horses. They're adults. They're humans.
But Jerry also makes a great point. The integrity of the game, right? Other leagues have shown that they will not stand for this. Some have, throw down some ridiculous, punishments, such as the lifetime, ban on Pete Rose. And last year, Calvin Ridley was suspended for a whole year. And not only that, when he came back, the team traded him away. So if the report is out, I think, some sort of punishment is going to be given, but the argument is there to be made. Gambling is legal in certain places. It just so happens that these players happen to be in the same league that we gamble in. That's going to be something moving forward that I can't wait to see how the league plays it out and how players react moving forward.
I think X brings up a valid point. I think that if you're going to be shoving the commercials down people's throats, then there needs to be some type of fallback on these rules, because I don't ever recall seeing marijuana commercials on every game that's broadcasted, and marijuana is legal now and the players are using it. They stopped testing for it. All right, they're basically like, hey, as long as it's not crack or cocaine, you know what I mean? You can go and smoke up a tree if you want, but we know these players have been doing this for decades now. Okay, smoking in the sport or any league is not new, but if you're going to be shoving gambling commercials every 5 minutes and then don't expect your players to follow the same route, especially when fantasy football has become such a huge explosion, especially now that we're in this is the most popular it's ever been. So I see what they're saying from the game standpoint. How can we trust our players not to bet on their own team against their team, or any other game that there is in the league? After all, these guys have friends in the league. They have other colleagues that pertain to other teams. They can get insider information. It's like if you guys worked in the stock market, you work for financial firms, and you guys are telling each other which stocks are going to tank and which ones are going to take off, right? So we seen Pete Rose. He got banned for life, okay? I just feel like if they're going to fix up the rules around fantasy, they need to let guys like Pete Rose back in the league and be able to be Hall of Famers, So, I don't agree on a year suspension, maybe a game or two, but an entire year, that basically makes the player lose a year out of his prime athleticism just for the sake of gambling, not even an injury. There's no domestic stuff. I mean, it just doesn't seem fair. Like X mentioned, if it's something that's going to be normalized now in our game, they need to fall back from these penalties.
It's true, Matt, but we have Roger Goodell, not the best of commissioners out there. So let's see.
Yeah, we all know that Roger Goodell is always going to push the owner's agenda. He's always going to push whatever's in the best interest, especially if it affects revenue. You know what I mean? And like we mentioned before, these teams are investing great amounts of money into these guys, and they want to protect their assets. So if they want to ensure that their players are not betting against the team, and if it's against company policy, I mean, that's basically like an employer issue, right? So we'll see what happens, man, because we've seen a lot of guys get popped now for fantasy football gambling and placing lineups or placing bets in states that are legal. So we should see that take off this upcoming season. So as we've seen in the recent news, we've seen Aaron Rodgers finally leave Green Bay. He is no longer stationed out there. The Green Bay Packers are on another route, and he's on his way to the New Jersey. He's joined the Jets, and he's got a core of young cats with him. Are they contenders or pretenders, fellas?
I think they're pretenders, guys. They're going to be the biggest pretender because they're going to win some games. They're going to win some close ones. They might beat the Bills. They might beat the Dolphins, or they might, beat a couple other teams on their schedule. I don't know exactly who they play. They'll win some big ones. However, in the playoffs, there's going to be one team that we don't expect to go to the playoffs. I don't want to, I want to say the Raiders or the Chargers. I don't know, someone, or the Jaguars, that we don't really expect to be banking on them to go to the playoffs. But that'll be the team that beats the Jets. Because it's just one of those things where they just have the perfect situation where Rodgers and in company is just, they're going to fall right into the script of another team's little Cinderella season. And they might not even win the Super Bowl, but they'll knock this team off. Even if they're 17-0, they can just come in and just choke the playoff. That's just what they might. That's what they're showing signs of to me. Supposedly they didn't want to do Hard Knocks, but supposedly the NFL might force them to do Hard Knocks, or there was some situation involved with that where there was only a list of 4 teams that can do Hard Knocks, including the Bears. I forgot the other 2 teams there, but the Jets were one of them, and they're just one of those teams, and it's sad to say because I am a Jets hater, but thinking aside from that, I see them winning some games this year and then choking in the playoffs.
Talk about it. I like that. Listen. This is giving me like 2008 vibes, right? When the Packers were tired of Brett Favre and they threw him away, and
yes,
the Jets picked him up, and it's exactly like how X said. The Jets start off on on a good start. They have a good record midway through the season. The Patriots aren't really, they weren't doing good that year because they had lost Brady. That was the year that Brady was out with that 20 CL.
Right.
And then what happens towards the end? They start choking little by little. And it goes down to the last game of the season versus the Dolphins. Winner takes the AFC East title. All I remember is Brett Favre falling while throwing a pick to a defensive lineman to end the game. And that's exactly what I foresee and, happening to Aaron Rodgers. Exactly the same thing.
You love to see it.
You love to see a personal, in-division rival throw their funds, throw their resources, their prime right out the window. For a coffee-drinking, mushroom-eating, woke quarterback.
Listen, right now, I see the Dolphins as the top contender in that division.
Ooh.
However, I feel like the Jets could be the disruptors in that mix. Okay, he has a bunch of young cats with him. It's not like he went to a team with a bunch of old guys. You know what I mean? He got a fresh new batch of guys out there, right? But only Aaron Rodgers can mess that up, and of course the coaching staff for the New York Jets. Otherwise, this is the Dolphins division to lose. All right. And there might be somebody as a surprise that creeps up. I am not going to say that it's going to be the Patriots, all right? So it's definitely going to be the Bills. We have yet to see what's going to happen with the Bills this season. I just, maybe a wild card spot, guys. Maybe they just sneak on into the playoffs. I don't think much is going to happen aside from that.
Wow. You're giving, I don't know, man. I don't think you're giving the Bills the credit that they have shown that they deserve for now. I still think that they are the class until they are taken off.
Nah, they don't deserve no credit. They got shitted on by the Bengals at home. They put up like 12 points.
I just don't. I don't know, man. I just want to see us beat them before I talk that shit. So far, it's been their division for the last 3 years.
So you would say that the division is between the Dolphins and
the Bills. The Bills. I'm not even worried about the Jets because somehow, some way, they're going to crumble within themselves. Somehow, somewhere.
Yeah. Look, because they played January 22nd. Bengals won 27-10. Come on, bro. Don't tell me that they're the class of anything. They just got shit on by Joe.
All right, all right, all right. I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
I
and
like
if Diggs gets traded, supposedly Diggs is on the trading block. Diggs gets traded, that's a different Bills team. We haven't seen Josh Allen be an MVP candidate without Diggs,
without him.
right?
Yeah, with
So
Diggs
let's
coming
see
in.
what he is without Diggs. Let's see if Gabe Davis can really hold the throne as a wide receiver one, or if one of the other receivers can step up, or maybe they bring in a Hopkins. If they can figure out a deal with Hopkins, maybe we can get rid of Diggs and figure out who else they can probably plug in. So it's one of those situations where the Bills are just, I guess they're waiting it out day by day to see what Diggs wants to do, or see if a team wants to swoop in and trade for him.
Bro, I released him so bad. They just gave him an extension last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
one thing, also a big topic coming up, and it's about to explode. Not that the NFL and NBA season is now concluded, and we're gonna get right into free agency. We got top dogs out here. DeAndre Hopkins, free agent released by the Cardinals. All right, only 31 years of age. We have yet to see where he's going, and then we also got Dalvin Cook. That's a free agent. Marcus Peters is another one that's out here. All right, so aside from those guys, I feel like everybody else is just a second tier player, but it's mainly Dalvin Cook and D Hop that are out here looking for a new home. And surprisingly, Zeke is another guy that got released by the Dallas Cowboys, so he's gonna be looking for a new home as well. As of right now, nobody has signed these guys.
Oh, I think Leonard Fournette is still available. Kareem Hunt, right? Kareem Hunt too, I believe, right?
yeah, those guys are still available.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt. David Johnson. Nah, nobody wants David Johnson. Kenyon Drake, Marlon Mack. But yeah,
We saw OBJ go. We saw OBJ go to the Ravens.
yeah, that's gonna be a plus for them. I think they'll try to get him involved, but I don't know if it's the answer. If it's gonna get him over the hump, I really don't see it.
There's a lot of speculation that Dalvin Cook might come to the Dolphins, and his number is lowering because he's looking at the market. There's still some pretty good running backs out there available. So it's not like, it's a need. And we've seen how the league has devalued running
Right,
backs in recent
right.
years.
It's a
Recent
small
years,
market.
it's no longer like that because they're using running backs by committee,
Right.
most teams.
Right.
So they're not overpaying. The Vikings did Dalvin Cook no favors by holding on to him that long.
No, and you look at the teams that needed a running back, everyone pretty much signed a running back. You look at Carolina, they got Miles Sanders. You look at Detroit, they got Montgomery. You look at New Orleans, they took Jamal Williams from the Lions, and he had a great year last year with touchdowns. They were signed. I'm gonna say Sanders was 4 years, 25. Montgomery 3 years, 18. And then even Miami signed Jeff Wilson. So everyone plugged their needs. No one's going to pay Zeke $5 million.
Even Philly signed DeAndre Swift.
Right,
Bro,
right, yeah. But no one's going to pay for
no?
Zeke, or Cook. No one's going to pay for them.
That goes well for us. I read an article today that Dalvin Cook might accept $6 million. Might accept $6 million.
No one's going to pay $6 million.
But the Dolphins might. The Dolphins might.
I don't see it, brother.
It might because we should release Byron Jones, and that freed up $13.4 million in cap space. So now we got like an extra 13 to play with. I'd give Dalvin Cook a little sixer. It'll be even cheaper if we extend it into a 2-year deal. If we give him a small little 2-year deal, there's cap for that. And we can, and it's Florida. I know in every one of those meetings, those GMs always end up with the same shit. Hey, it's Florida. So that extra $3 million that most states take, that's in your account. That matters. And that matters, bro. You don't have to sell much on Florida.
Yeah, but not even that, bro. No one's going to pay that much money. I don't see it happening because everyone has a running back.
Let's see how that goes. We have Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. Dalvin Cook would make us an elite running back field.
No, and not even that.
I mean,
There's
Jeff Wilson
also
did a good job for you guys.
Jeff Wilson did a good
I
job.
think Jeff Wilson did great.
Raheem Mostert, oh my God, he was amazing. I can't believe he's 31 years old. He's a beast. Let's see what's up with Dalvin Cook. But what's to do with Hopkins? How's the player of that man runs some of the best routes in the NFL, and he's still available. Why?
Right now, he's ranked the #1 player in free agency. He's only 31 years old. It could be injuries, man. Maybe he's just banged up. He's not a young man per se anymore in terms of football, but he's also not an old man either. 31 years old. I think, usually they got another 4 seasons in him. As we just saw, OBJ get signed by the Ravens, and he's what, 32, 33 years old? So let's see, man. I heard rumors that he's going to the Dolphins too, man. D-Hop.
Nah, I think that's clickbait.
I think D-Hop is kind of fresh. D-Hop is kind of fresh for 31. I mean, I know he has a lot of miles in his career. However, he hasn't played hard recently. So he can come in, kind of take it easy during a season, being a second or third option, and then try to turn up for the playoffs on the team. I see that happening.
Who's a wide receiver needy team that because Hopkins said that he would love to go to a contender, right? So we're talking about a handful of teams only. Didn't the Chargers lose one of these receivers, Mike Williams? They lost Mike Williams. Huh? They had to pay both of those guys, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, so they had to make a decision.
Yeah, I'm not sure he came back. I know we have
who's a wide receiver needy team? The Raiders? I don't know if he would go back with Carr.
The Raiders need a wide receiver for sure. But they don't even know if Jimmy Garoppolo passed that physical. I think he needs to pass the physical first. He might not even be on the team.
Yeah.
What if Hopkins goes to the Jets with Rodgers? They got no receivers except for that rookie, that bald Wilson. I can't name you any other receiver of theirs because the other guy that was a Pro Bowler on special teams, that white boy Braxton Berrios.
You're talking about C.J. Watson.
I'm talking about Braxton Berrios. That he was on the
receiver. You said Wilson. His name's Watson. Number 9, the receiver. Yeah, number 9. Christian, and then there's like a Christian.
No. Watson, he's from the Packers. I'm talking about from the Jets.
I'm talking about from the Packers. Yeah, you said Wilson.
No, I'm talking about the Jets.
Oh, yeah, Garrett Wilson.
I'm talking about the Jets. What if Hopkins goes to the Jets?
He's not going to the Jets. They have receivers.
Aside from Wilson, I don't know the other.
They got Alan Lazard from the Packers.
Oh my God! What is this? 2015?
No, they signed him. It's not Jordy Nelson.
They signed Randall Cobb.
Alan Lazard. He's like 27, 28. He's young, bro.
They signed all those old receivers from Green Bay. That's right. I forgot about that shit. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers playing Madden in real life.
He's 27. They signed him to a 4-year, $44 million contract.
Oh, Lazard?
Yeah, bro. This is early free agency. This was early.
Yep.
I love
committing early to these young bucks.
Waste that cap. Waste that
and
money.
Then they traded the other guy they had. What was his name? It wasn't Denzel Mims. It was someone else.
Didn't they sign Randall Cobb? Please tell me they signed old ass Randall Cobb.
The Jets?
No.
Yes.
I think he's on the Jets, isn't he?
Yeah, Randall Cobb is on the Jets, and so is Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman is too from the Chiefs.
It's the 2018 Packers on the 2023 Jets.
Oh, they still have Denzel Mims too.
I needed that. That was good.
We'll see, guys. We'll see, man. It might just be the Bills and Dolphins contending for the division.
There's a lot of beef.
It might not even be a struggle.
There's a lot of beef in our division. Unlike your sorry ass division, it's only the Eagles, and that's it.
That's right. You see the background. We in training camp, baby, putting in work. We getting that chip, baby.
Yeah, I'm about to take a fat L. You do not have the same team.
Listen, we're going back to the promised land.
X has been preying on your downfall ever since.
Our team is stacked. We got running backs, wide receivers, and quarterbacks. It was
I can't believe y'all got Swift. I'm taking that nigga.
No.
I'm taking that
AJ
nigga.
Brown.
Jerry,
Everybody, baby.
I want you to know I'm taking all of your favorite players from the Eagles on my fantasy team.
Never. Well, luckily for you in fantasy, I never ever get Eagles players. Rarely. You know, this is business.
Nigga.
I get emotional.
You got Jalen Hurts in one of your leagues, nigga.
Yo.
What the fuck you talking about?
Yo, they re-signed Hurts.
Nah.
Yeah, they re-signed Hurts, but they lost Miles Sanders, Jason Hargrave, their defensive tackle, their defensive back, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's pretty decent. He's good.
He's all right.
C.J. Edwards, and an offensive lineman, Isaac Seumalo.
Nah, we're good. You got Jordan Mailata, bro. He's big enough for 2 linemen, son.
And
Lane Johnson, another year older.
50. And there's a gargoyle.
Peters,
Kelsey in his last year.
Another year older.
Lane Johnson in his last year. Okay.
We
got a couple guys, but our offense is scary, bro. Our offense is scary, and we came up in the draft. We got a bunch of rookies on defense too, man. So,
yo, I remember Darius Slay on the Lions getting interceptions like on Thanksgiving and shit, like back in the days, and he's still on the Eagles.
Yep.
I was like a kid.
All right, fellas, and that concludes our episode for this week, episode 22 of the Raw Report. I am your host, Jericho, along with my co-host, X and Bones. Before we get out of here, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the comment button, connect with us on Instagram at Raw Fantasy Sports, and we'll see you on the next episode.